Hello, and thanks for joining us on Movie Night Memories. You Must Remember This, a podcast that focuses on movies and our favorite memories of them. Each week we discuss films that are celebrating an anniversary from when they came out in theaters. My name is Sword Alexander, and I'm joined by the inspiration of this podcast, my mom, Tracey.
Good evening.
This week we're talking about movies released between May 4th and May 10th. We have 16 Candles, Spider-Man 3, The Avengers, Gladiator.
The original Gladiator.
The original Gladiator. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Thor. Captain America Civil War. Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. The Mummy. Star Trek, the 2009 remake. Paper Moon. Friday the 13th. Speed Racer. The End. And Twister. We have a lot of films to talk about this week, so many that we don't want to spend a very, very, very long time here. So instead we have a bit of a new segment that we're going to do later on that just briefly goes over some of these movies. It's clearly a very big week for box office releases. So we're going to start talking about the films that we wanted to talk about in a little bit more detail before we move on to the films that we actually watched. This week we watched 16 Candles, Gladiator, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, and Paper Moon. We're going to talk about those films in more explicit detail, so viewer discretion is advised. If you've never seen these films, there will be spoilers ahead. But first, let's talk about some of the other films.
First up is The End, released May 10th, 1978, celebrating a 47th anniversary. Burt Reynolds plays Sonny Lawson, a man who is diagnosed with a fatal illness. After an attempt to end his own life lands him in a mental hospital. He befriends a patient named Marlon. It's played by Dom DeLuise. They make a pact to end Sonny's life before he gets sicker. However, a change of heart forces Sonny to confront his would-be killer in this crazy story about life, death, friendship, and what it all means in the end. Fun fact, the original ending was so morose that Burt Reynolds had it changed.
So you have more memories of this film than I do. You introduced this to me a few years ago. I think we watched it during COVID.
I think so, yes.
So I never saw it, and I was looking up research on the film. It's very much kind of like Blazing Saddles when it comes to its kookiness, when it comes to its silliness.
There's a lot of cameos in this film from Carl Reiner. Sally Field's in it. I think Sally Field and Burt Reynolds were dating at the time. My brother Davey introduced me to the film. It's so funny. He wasn't a big Burt Reynolds fan, but when he saw this film, he became a Burt Reynolds fan for some of his films. And it's a hilarious film. Robbie Benson plays a young priest. There's just so many great writing in this film. And it really, you've got to see it. It's one of my favorite films with Burt Reynolds, and it talks about life as well as death, and about what to expect if you would ever be diagnosed with a major illness and only had a certain amount of time to live. What would you do, and how would you handle it? And he goes through a lot of silly things, and then has to deal with it. And it's just a really great comedy.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds is very much attached to this film. When I was doing research on it, I was very intrigued by what he had to say about it. He described it as a film that you don't really see movies talk about death, and in a way that's very comedic and silly. He compared the writing of this movie to like a Mel Brooks comedy.
It is.
It's very much like a Mel Brooks comedy,
it is.
Where it's just poking fun at death, at suicide, in a very tasteful way. He said this is like something you would not get to do successfully unless you really knew what you were doing. And I agree. It's a great film. I really enjoyed watching it. I would be happy to see it again. We just didn't have enough time this week. And it's very much a hit that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about this movie.
And I think, it would be a great film to redo if it was done right. Mm-hmm. With the right actors.
It'd be really funny. And I know this duo has been done before, but I would really like to see them try to do this after seeing them in The Nice Guys. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Remember that movie, The Nice Guys?
Yeah, but I don't think Russell Crowe was in that.
Russell Crowe was like one of the guys. He was one of these fixers / hitmen kind of people. And
yeah, but I would think he would be in that. No, I'd want some kind of really charismatic, funny guy like Burt Reynolds to.
You remember Dinner for Schmucks with Paul Rudd and Steve Carell?
Paul Rudd would be perfect.
Paul Rudd and Steve Carell would be a great combination
yes.
here. Absolutely.
Yes.
I could see it now.
Paul Rudd could play the Burt Reynolds character.
And yes,
Paul Rudd could play the Burt Reynolds
absolutely,
character.
because in case you didn't, other people, in case you haven't listened to him, seen his stuff before, he did that twin movie, that twin series on Netflix, and where he played like a clone of himself.
Yes,
and it was a very serious role that Paul Rudd was in, and it was absolutely.
But someone would have to be a crazy character like Dom DeLuise.
Steve Carell. I think that the look in that guy's eyes.
But he played a crazy person. Remember in Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, he did. But that was more like a sad, depressive.
Yeah.
This he could.
But
play,
he was too though.
But
he was in a psychiatric.
You could see like him getting his little inner Michael Scott into this,
and
God. Really just take it apart. I would just love it.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God. Anyway.
So next up is Twister, released May 10th, 1996. It's celebrating its 29th anniversary. Helen Hunt plays Jo Harding, a storm chaser with the hopes of utilizing the latest technology to predict the path of future tornadoes. Her journey is interrupted by Bill Harding, played by Bill Paxton, as he reluctantly joins her while pleading with her to accept their dissolution of marriage so he can get remarried. Fun fact, after the initial release, a drive-in movie theater was destroyed by a tornado in Ontario, Canada, that was scheduled to play the film hours beforehand. This event mirrors the events of the film, where a tornado destroys a drive-in movie theater during a viewing of Jaws.
Wow.
It actually happened.
Wow, I didn't know that.
People started saying that more tornadoes and more natural disasters were increasing after the release of Twister. And they were saying that over the years, more tornadoes started picking up among Tornado Valley since the film came out. And they were trying to say it was the film's fault.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's crazy. But it's so funny that actually happened, though. It even came to the point where some people were starting rumors that the drive-in situation happened while Twister was being played. But that wasn't true. It was done. Yeah. It happened hours before they actually played the movie. But it's a funny scenario, isn't it?
You've always been a really big fan of this movie.
I am. I would actually like to think that Twister, to my earliest knowledge, started my interest in natural disaster movies. I have a big guilty pleasure for natural disaster movies. You name it, I'll love it. Some films I'm still working on seeing for the first time, but movies like 2012, Twister. I mean, technically, you could say The Day the Earth Stood Still, but it's not really. I just love natural disaster movies. I do. There's like a warm place in my heart for watching the world just crumble and destroy. I don't know why. I don't get some sick pleasure out of watching people suffer, but I love watching really cool stuff just blow up and just fall apart. Maybe it's the inner kid of playing with Legos and destroying it all. I don't know. But I really enjoy Twister. It's a very well done movie. It was partially written by Michael Crichton, who did Jurassic Park and ER, a bunch of other great films. He's a great writer. And this was a passion project of his because he loves doing this kind of stuff. And it was filmed very well. Like it was this very well done film. You wouldn't be able to recreate this very easily. They did a movie called Twisters. I never saw it. I really wanted to see it in IMAX, just never had a chance to. But I really enjoyed the original film, Twister. Did you have any memories of it when it came out in theaters? I imagine people have talked about it a lot.
I didn't go see it in theaters, but I saw it with you watching on TV. And it saddens me to think about this movie because Bill Paxton was such a big actor in this film. And it really made him really popular. And I think it came out before Titanic.
It did. It came because Titanic came out in
97 or 98.
No, yeah,
97.
Yeah,
I think 97.
It came out in 97.
So, and he was in Titanic. So, I love Bill Paxton. So it saddens me to think about this film because it really made him popular.
Mm-hmm. No, I really enjoy the film. I'd love to see it again sometime too.
Well, anyway, so next up is the Avengers, released May 4th, which is today, May 4th, 2012. May the 4th be with you. Celebrating a 13th anniversary, the world's mightiest heroes come together in a battle for Earth as Loki, Norse god of mischief, plans to take over the world with an infinity stone that will control the minds of all humans. Fun fact, Robert Downey Jr. in one scene was so hungry after shooting they began eating blueberries in the middle of filming. Nobody questioned it.
It's that famous scene, of course, like, it's a fun fact that everybody knows about, where it's like when the Avengers are talking to each other, and they're talking about their kind of distress for each other, and he's offering people blueberries in the middle of the shot while it's going on, and I think Mark Ruffalo takes a bite or two of it, but he's just popping him in because he was hungry after a long day. There's so much information about the production and pre-production of this movie that I kind of got bored reading about all of it. So I thought, you know what, let me just throw in the blueberry one, because it's a simple fun fact. You and I remember very clearly when this movie came out. So it was obviously a big deal. It was a huge deal. I remember seeing it for the first time, and it was fantastic. I remember specific parts in the theater where people would laugh, like erupt in laughter, when like Robert Downey Jr. compared Thor to Shakespeare in the Park, where he made all these little wisecracks and jokes. Oh my God! Remember, actually following that same scene when Thor brings out the hammer of Mjolnir and smacks it down against Captain America's shield. And I remember when that scene happened and it blew up the forest in the movie, but the entire theater went dead silent. Like, you could hear a pin drop. And it blew people's minds. I think the way that this movie was filmed, it blew people's minds away. You could not escape people talking about this movie when it came out.
You saw this film right after you turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big deal.
It's literally a day later. And this is my introduction to turning into adulthood, watching a bunch of superheroes in tights. But what did you think, like, when you saw it for the first time?
Oh, I was blown away. Literally blown away. Was that the year that had the big storm that hit? Was that the year?
I don't
When
remember.
we came to St. Augustine, saw it in IMAX? Was it the same year? I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah. I think it was the same year.
Maybe it was.
I think it was.
I think maybe it was. I would have thought it was my 17th birthday or
No,
something.
no. I think it was the same year that big tropical depression came in.
Yeah, it was a tropical depression that was
And
literally...
it went on for days and days.
It was stronger than the Category 1 hurricanes we get nowadays.
Yeah, and it was
45,
55 mile an hour winds for days and days and days.
We were stuck in the Hampton Inn in Villano Beach.
Yeah.
All we could do was just watch movies and use the internet, because for some reason that building never lost power. It was on pretty much the entire time. And then that old man who was there serving breakfast with those waffles and everything. It was a crazy time.
It was.
Yep. So next up is Star Trek, released May 9th, 2009, celebrating a 16th anniversary. A reimagining of the origin story of the Starship Enterprise as James Tiberius Kirk makes new friends and enemies, finding himself going where no one has gone before. Fun fact, screenwriters Robert Orci and Alex Kurtzman were inspired by the friendship of John Lennon and Paul McCartney when they were writing for Kirk and Spock.
Wow, that is incredible.
It's really interesting to think about that because, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite Star Trek movies. I sound like an absolute heretic saying this, but my first true introduction to Star Trek is watching this movie. I was too young at the time to really want to get Trek and understand Trek the way it was, and this movie really introduced me to what it was like and what it could be. I've watched the original series. I've watched different parts of The Next Generation.
After this.
Yeah, after this as well. But this is where I first really got interested in Star Trek, was seeing the cool spaceship and seeing the actors really work well off of each other and create this great relationship. And I really like the way that they make it very clear this is not the original series. This is a diverted timeline so they can do whatever they want and nobody can get mad at them for it. But we saw this movie, and then didn't we go to the Kennedy Space Center right afterwards?
We might have.
I think we did. Because they had a bunch of cool space stuff around that area, and Star Trek stuff included. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your perspective seeing this movie when it came out in theaters, because you took me to see it. I didn't know what to expect out of it.
I loved it. I thought it was a new perspective. And the the growth, how I've seen Star Trek movies grow from back in 1979 to 2009 was incredible.
Yes, and
so the growth that I saw and I've witnessed in movie making is dramatic. It's impeccable.
But because as some may not know, that you've been a Trekkie for a very long time.
Yes, since I was a little girl, since it started. And I remember my brother Danny and my sister Roxy, they would make me sit down and they would draw me as a character for Star Trek with a Spock haircut. Just to make me sit there, so they would draw me to have a Spock haircut. You know, just to see how I would look with a Spock haircut, even though I didn't have a Spock haircut. I was just a little girl. This is how Trekkies they were. And I met William Shatner.
Yes, you did.
In University of Florida.
It was during this. He was coming to make a speech, right?
Yeah, he was a guest speaker during student union tours that they would have guest speakers come. And this was in 1994 or 95. I think it was 94.
So it was right after I was born,
yes,
essentially.
Yes, and it was late fall, and he had a
Q&A?
He had a question and answer, but his theme was the future is now. He made fun of it. He made fun of it. And so there was a funny scene from Saturday Night Live that Dana Carvey, they were doing a scene from Saturday Night Live saying, get a life, and from William Shatner when he was on Saturday Night Live. And so I was going to do the same question about what is the combination from the scene from Star Trek when you did that scene. And so I asked him that question. I said, what was the combination? Because I got in the question and answer for William Shatner. And everybody started like laughing, giggling. And he at first was laughing and giggling. He knew it was from that Saturday Night Live skit.
And then he told you to get a life.
Yeah.
Get a life.
Yeah. And then everybody was laughing and giggling. There was people dressed up as Spock. There were people dressed up as Romulans. There was people dressed up, all the characters, and having the Spock ears and everything. And he called me young lady. I'll never forget it. And I asked him to sign Danny's book about William Shatner, and he said he would.
And then as soon as you said that, people started asking.
Then everyone next in line was saying, sign my book, sign my book, sign my book.
And it ruined the entire thing.
Yeah, he never got to sign the book. He never got to sign the book because then everybody wanted them to sign the book. Sign this book, sign that book, sign this. So he never got to sign it. But I do have a picture of him and during that meeting. So he was such a wonderful, and my question ended up being, of all the roles that you had played, what's the role that you decided not to take? Do you regret not taking? And he says, I've never had regrets in life. Don't ever have a regret in life. And he says, life is short. Never have regrets. When you make a decision, you make a decision, and you have to move on. And that was really important in my life at that time. And it's been a great for me now and in the future, because you shouldn't have regrets. And it really made an impact on me. And I think it made an impact on people in that audience too.
I do believe that there's nothing inherently wrong with wondering what if, but I completely agree where, it comes to a point where you have to make a decision, you have to live with it, and you shouldn't regret it because you never know where it's going to end up taking you. Because
people used to make fun of him like he played T.J. Hooker in movie roles, and TV roles, and he played these other TV roles, Boston and stuff like that, and Legal, and he played these other TV roles. And so I want to know what other roles he didn't take that he regretted, but he said, I don't have any regrets. He says, there's no point. You can't look back, you have to move forward.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's really interesting. It's funny about Star Trek because I like to think that my interest in Star Trek doesn't just come from because I'm just a big geek that likes a whole bunch of different stuff, but it's also because it runs in the family.
Yeah,
it's really nice to know.
Yeah. Anyway,
so there's a lot of other films like that point out that we're going to talk about, but we really do not have enough time to go over all these films, and there's so much research that has to go into even talking about one of them, because talking about fun facts and doing the synopsis. So we wanted to do what's called rapid fire, where we point out a movie name, say when it got released, and just quickly ask, did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you not like or like about it? Simple as that. The first one this is actually one that I really wanted to ask about, was Friday the 13th. It was released May 9th, 1980, a 45th anniversary. This is one of the most influential horror slasher films of all time. You gotta tell me about what it was like when it came out.
It was a big, huge, couldn't wait for this movie to come out. I didn't go see it. I was scared to death. I'm not into horror slasher films. Plus, I did want to see it.
It's scary. It's a scary film to see at night in the movie theater and everything.
I was not going to go see this movie. I've seen some really, really scary movies, like not that, but similar. Mm-hmm. And I was too scared to go see Friday the 13th. I was very young, and I was not about to go see that film.
This was on the cusp. This was one of the first slasher films that really redefined what horror films could be, because it literally came out in 1980.
But there were so many people talking about it, and there was people talking about that they were scared things were going to happen during the film.
Absolutely. And I felt like that was probably the same way with Halloween, which we'll get to eventually when that comes around too. That's one of my favorites, if not my favorite horror movie, is the original Halloween.
I saw that. I saw that one in the film. In the theaters. It's
one of the scariest movies. I've seen it 5, 6, 7 times. I still get jump scared by some of these scenes. That just shows how incredible that film is. It was
screaming all the time. Screaming.
Can't wait to hear about it. All right, next up, The Mummy, released May 7th, 1999, the 26th anniversary. You never saw this movie.
Nope.
I did. I love it. It's very much like Indiana Jones inspired.
Never saw it.
So I never got to ask you. You don't understand because you don't remember when it came out, right?
No, I remember when this film was coming out, but I never saw it.
Okay.
I never saw it.
So do you remember anything about Brendan Fraser being pushed or anything like that?
No, I don't remember him being pushed. I just remember it was The Mummy. They didn't. I don't remember them pushing Brendan Fraser at that time.
Yeah, I really wanted to see this, and I can't wait to see it again because it's just a very good, fun adventure movie. All right, next up is Spider-Man 3, released May 4th, 2007, celebrating an 18th anniversary. Well, I remember when it came out. You remember when it came out. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was a huge deal. Which
Spider-Man was this?
This is the one with the black suit Spider-Man.
Okay, but who was the Spider-Man? What actor?
Tobey Maguire.
Okay, he was still Tobey.
Yep.
Okay.
This was his last role as Spider-Man.
Okay.
I remember it. That was in 8th grade, middle school, and it blew up. Everybody was talking about it.
The black Spider-Man.
Well, technically, I think this was actually in the end of 7th grade, beginning of 8th, because with the time frame, it's May, it's right before summer. But I remember people wouldn't stop talking about it. People had commercials everywhere, toys were everywhere. I remember like it was yesterday. I got a black suit for one of my school dances, which is absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe that I wore that to a dance, but I had a time of my life.
No, you had a black Spider-Man suit.
Yeah.
No, you said black suit.
Oh,
you had a black Spider-Man suit.
Yes, I had a black Spider-Man suit I wore. It was like a Halloween-themed homecoming party, and I cannot believe I wore it because I was so bullied in 8th grade especially, but I had the time of my life at that event and with the suit. And
you even wore that to Disney World.
Yep, I remember that. It was at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. Yep, I remember wearing that suit to that event too. Mm-hmm. And look, it's a good movie. My opinion, I haven't seen it in several years, but what do you remember about when it came out?
I just remember it was a big deal and everybody was talking about the other, Black Spider-Man.
Venom. Yeah, I think this was a big deal too.
Yeah.
Cool. Next up is Speed Racer, released May 9, 2008, celebrating a 17th anniversary. I point this out because this is one of those movies that holds something more sentimental to me, which is silly because I have no interest or care for the original Speed Racer TV, manga, anime series. I don't care. But for some reason, I don't know, I actually know what it is. This movie just clicked with me. I grew up really liking cars, really liking racing of all kinds, NASCAR especially for a while, but I really just got into racing in general, whether it be street racing and just cars and stuff. the way that this film was put out, I didn't see it in theaters, but I remember seeing it for the first time. It was like years later. I fell in love with it. This is one of those movies where I don't know why, but it holds such a special place in my heart because it's just a movie about a silly family who gets it. But here's the thing, actually. It's a movie about a family. It's supposed to be a silly family, but they take it really seriously. And they don't make it just about family and driving. They make it about what family really means and the importance of like sibling love along with the passion, the soul that comes into what you're passionate about. In this case, the guy who plays Speed Racer, he's passionate about racing because he gets it from his brother, but he's passionate about it because he gets it from his father. And it's a great lessons to learn. This was directed by the Coen brothers, or the Coen brothers? No. It's the Wachowskis, and they are the one that did The Matrix.
Yeah.
They filmed this so well. This movie was panned. People hated it. They thought it was stupid and it looked terrible. And I see where people are coming from, but God, I love this movie. I would love to talk about it and see it and show it to you again one day.
Remember to speak rapid fire.
Oh, rapid fire. Thank you. All right, moving on. Thor, released May 6, 2011, celebrating the 14th anniversary. You love this movie.
I liked it a lot. I wouldn't say I loved it. I liked it a lot because I love Thor. Mm-hmm. I dated a guy in college named Thor.
Mm-hmm. I remember you were very excited to see this when it came out in theaters.
Yeah.
And I remember I wasn't really I didn't know what to expect of it. I really wasn't a Thor fan per se. I got more into it, when it came out. But it was kind of a big deal. People didn't know what to expect, and people were surprised with how good it was.
Yeah, it's a good movie, but I mean, it was,
Yeah. All right, next up is Captain America Civil War, released May 6, 2016. A lot of Marvel movies this week. Celebrating a 9th anniversary. Do you remember seeing Captain America Civil War?
I do.
Did you like anything in particular about it?
They're all running together right now, so we're talking about so many of them.
Well, this one had Spider-Man and Black Panther.
Yeah.
And I do remember seeing this in theaters, and a lot of people were shocked at how great it was. I remember a lot of the audience reactions to some scenes too.
Yeah, I remember all that now that you mention it, but it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. We saw it in IMAX too.
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, released May 5th, 2017, celebrating an 8th anniversary. This movie holds more sentimental value to me than the other Marvel movies usually do. What about you? What did you think of it?
Yeah, we looked forward to this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2,
And you, I remember in particular, were so amazed when the first scene of the movie, very first shot, it shows Kurt Russell 40 years younger.
Oh, that was incredible. I could not believe how he looked so young, like back in the old days, and how they did that. I was shocked.
I remember the look on your face.
I was shocked.
Your jaw was on the floor.
I was shocked. I was like, how are they doing this? How are they doing? And they did the same thing with Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, I think it was in the Captain America Civil War movie. I think it was. Because they showed this shot of his parents. Yep, that was. It was Civil War. They were showing a shot of his parents, and they were showing him as a kid.
Oh my
God. It looked just like him.
Oh my God. I was like, oh my gosh, how are they doing this? How are they doing? And it just makes you want to just cry. It just makes you feel, wow, can they do that to me?
You gotta do that to me.
It was just incredible.
It absolutely was incredible. All right, so that's all the films that we wanted to talk about briefly. Sorry about Speed Racer. I love that movie. I love talking about it. So wait, next year for sure. But we're going to talk about the movies that we actually saw this week and went into more detail about. So first up is Paper Moon, released May 9th, 1973. It was directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who did the movie Illegally Yours. It was a very small independent film that was starred Rob Lowe and took place in St. Augustine, where we're currently living
but
now.
That's not a big film of his.
No.
A big film of his was the Last Picture Show.
Yes.
And others. He's a famous director, and he recently died.
Mm-hmm. And this movie, Paper Moon, was written by Alvin Sargent, who did Ordinary People, and he also wrote Spider-Man 2, which a lot of...
But he didn't write the book, Ordinary People. He wrote the screenplay.
Right. And people regard Spider-Man 2 as the best written Spider-Man movie of all the Spider-Man movies that have come out since. And that's a big deal. A big deal in my eyes.
But the synopsis of Paper Moon is, after a tragic accident leaves a young girl orphaned, a traveling con man who knew her mom agrees to take her to her aunt. They form an unlikely partnership while traveling across the American Midwest. Now, in the movie, there's
a bit of a situation.
There's a situation where people keep saying he looks like the little girl, like he's her dad. Really, he's her daddy. And so it's Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal who play the man taking her to her aunt's. And Tatum O'Neal is only 9 years old, I think, when she plays Addie.
I think she was 12 when I was looking this up.
No, she's not 12.
Okay.
No, the original girl was supposed to be 12.
Oh, that's right.
And Tatum O'Neal is only 9 years old, and she was 8, I think, originally, and then or 8 or 9 or something like that. And then she does an incredible performance.
And it surprised me that the original people they were going to go with was Paul Newman and his daughter at that time.
That wasn't really well known. Sword. That doesn't matter. Tatum O'Neal and Ryan O'Neal played, and Madeline Kahn's in it, who was not very well known at the time. She was known in Blazing Saddles, but it's an incredible movie. I've loved this movie since I was around 10 years old, and I identified with Tatum O'Neal because I was the same age, and she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. In fact, I thought she should have won for Best Actress.
Yep, she was
that role.
She was the youngest person
ever,
still is, to win Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars.
They gave Shirley Temple an Oscar, but she didn't win one. They gave her one for her. My understanding, I have to look it up again. They gave Shirley Temple one for just being such a great actress.
Yeah, it was one of those honorary Oscars for lifetime achievement, something like that, and which was very kind of them to do that.
No. It was like when she was a little girl, but Tatum actually won. So this movie is an incredible film. I think, everyone should see this film. They filmed it in black and white, and the way they filmed it was especially well done. How they made the mixture between the black and the white. And made it look like back in the 30s, because this is supposed to be back in the 30s during the Depression. And so I love this film. I give it a 5 out of 5.
Did you have any memory of seeing it when it came out at that point in time?
I remember seeing it. I don't know how I saw it.
In the movie theater?
I know I saw it when it came out, but I don't remember seeing it. I must have seen it in Lake City at the little theater. With my sister Roxy, because I remember it so well. And I can't believe... Was it rated PG, do you know?
Well, that was before the MPAA really came out.
No. They had ratings.
They did. I would say it was... I mean, I would probably even give it a G rating in some places.
No. Sword, there is some risque scenes in that.
There's a little risque.
Not little. No. There was some very big risque scenes.
So I'd say it was PG by that point, but... I don't know if it was considered...
It was risque scenes in there.
I just don't know if the rating system was considered that at the time. It
was risque scenes. But anyway, I think I saw it with my sister Roxy.
So what do you think really made the film succeed? Like, what's the one thing that
The performances.
The performances?
The performances. And the writing. And I think Peter Bogdanovich made this a project for him. We saw the documentary about it, where he said that they showed him doing some of the scenes, how he wanted those scenes to be done.
Yeah, we saw the behind the scenes, and I wanted to point that out too, is that I liked that when they were showing him shooting these shots, he also went into it in the first place, and he actually was acting out these scenes, playing Ryan O'Neal, and that really interested me, because it showed me that he, as an actor and director, having those two perspectives is really important. It's something that a lot of directors may end up missing out on, knowing from an actor's perspective. So you could tell he really, really cared about how things were going to go from the actor's perspective and the director's perspective too.
And some of these shots were one takes.
Yeah,
And they
a
were
lot of them were long takes.
And they were long takes, too. Long takes that they had to do. And they had to do them over and over and over, how they described them. And Tatum was so talented. And they were patient with her, too. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm. I think there were a lot of really well done things about the movie. I thought it was excellently done. Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal were the perfect choice for it. I thought it was so well filmed and so well done that I would like to see it again. And I know this doesn't. I like the vision of black and white, but it looks so good that I want to see it in color too. I wish they would have remastered it and put it out in color so we could have seen what it looked like in color as well. Because that way I could have seen them bring the 1930s to life. And I know it's an artistic choice to do black and white. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But the film looks that good, and it's filmed so well that I would want to see it in color too. I think it's more of a compliment than anything else. I think it goes on a little long sometimes, and I do believe near the end it was a little bit unnecessary to have some scenes with some of the bootleggers and how it ends up going with the bootleggers, although I did like how they approached some of the bootlegger scenes. It was great. I just don't like the resolution of it all. And a couple things just don't kind of add up at the very, very end. But I do like how it ends up finishing out, like the last shot of the film itself. It ends the way it should. And I would probably, with that, I would give it 4.5 stars. Because that's me being more detail-oriented and detail-focused on some of these things. So the biggest films of that year were The Exorcist, The Sting, and American Graffiti.
Oh, that was another thing important. So the filmmaker, there's something about the filmmaker that was in... No, this is a different film.
Okay.
I'm confusing it.
Okay, it's okay.
Never mind. We've been watching so many films.
We've watched a few movies.
I'm confusing with another.
A lot of work. The budget for Paper Moon was $2.5 million, and the box office was $30.9 million.
So it was an extremely successful film.
Yes, absolutely.
And
absolutely deserved it, too.
And it was originally a book called Addie Mae, I think.
They did change the ending, I believe, too. And they changed the setting. The original setting was in the Deep South. They changed it to the American Midwest.
Bogdanovich is a great storyteller.
He is.
And he redid the story.
He's a very intelligent man. I wish we had more time to have seen more of his works and more of his vision before he ended up passing. But he had a long, successful career. So, moving on. Did you want to talk about this next film, or did you want me to take the lead on it?
No, you love this film more than I do.
Well, I mean, I like it. It's fine. But let's talk about it. It's 16 Candles. It was released May 4th, 1984.
May the 4th be with you today again.
You say this. It's funny you say this, but you never saw us. I mean, you've seen Star Wars, but like...
I'm not a big Star Wars fan.
So,
but I just think it's funny. Today's May 4th, and all these May 4th films that were released just today.
It's so funny, because May the 4th was not that big of a deal until like 6-7 years ago. Really? I wasn't hearing May the 4th be with you until like 2017. All of a sudden it started going nuts.
May the 4th be with you has been longer than that. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Anyway. So it was 16 Candles.
It was directed by John Hughes.
It was directed and written by John Hughes, yes. The synopsis is that it's a condescending sister, a snotty younger brother, an embarrassing school dance, and so much more plague 16-year-old Sam Baker as her 16th birthday comes and goes without so much as a happy birthday from even her own family. All she wanted was 16 candles on a cake.
Well, first of all, her older sister was getting married.
That's why she was condescending to her in the movie. She was like, "Oh, you're jealous because I'm getting married." That's the most condescending.
Yeah, but the reason why everybody forgot her birthday is because there was this big wedding about to happen.
Right, but they still forgot her birthday. That's the point.
I know, but it wasn't that putting on a big wedding and they had people coming in from out of town and all kinds of things happening. It's not that. Isn't
it funny that they like this? They said, "Oh, okay, we'll just have you get married on this one day," because they planned out the date months and months in advance, and not once did Sam ever say, "That's my birthday."
No, the wedding wasn't on her birthday. Her birthday was the day before.
The day before.
So that's. I don't even like the title to this movie.
I think it's okay. It's fine.
That doesn't make sense. I don't like the title for this movie. It's like you said when we watched it. This is not a good title. You even said it's not a good title.
I said that well, you're right, but the marketing is really what concerns me. Is that throughout the years, and I haven't seen this movie in years and years and years. So seeing it again, I finally got a chance to really take a good look at it, in better, more of an older perspective. And this movie is marketed awfully because every single time somebody mentions 16 Candles on a TV show, in a movie, anything, especially in media, they'll point out that Molly Ringwald, it's a Molly Ringwald movie. It's a Molly Ringwald movie. And they'll point out her and her face and her candles and nothing else. There is so much more than just Molly Ringwald in this.
I know.
This movie is not just about Molly Ringwald. But they make the marketing and the way people talk about this movie, they're acting like it's her movie. It absolutely is not her movie.
It's really about.
It's really about like 4 people.
No, it's about high school.
Yeah.
It's about high school back in the 80s.
It really is.
In the early 80s. Or mid 80s. What year was it? 84. In the
And I don't mean to put down Molly Ringwald as an actress and whatnot. I just think that this movie was not written like it's about Molly Ringwald. It's not about her.
But it's really about privileged kids in the mid 80s.
Yes.
Rich,
very wealthy kids.
Wealthy, to do kids.
Very, very wealthy kids. Like the
Midwestern.
I think this is a good movie. I really enjoyed it when it came to some of the filming choices. I think Anthony Michael Hall was, to me, the real star because he was so good in it. I mean, one of the fun facts that I found out was that Anthony Michael Hall was picked because when the casting came out, and they were trying to cast a geek, essentially. That's what John Hughes described him as. Like, he wants a geek. Anthony Michael Hall comes in. He's the only actor of all even the big names like Jim Carrey, who come in to do the role, and he doesn't play it like a geek. He plays it like a totally normal guy. And John Hughes was so impressed because he didn't come in with a pocket protector, with nerdy glasses, nothing. He came in just looking like himself and acting like he was a step above that stereotype. Because that's what geeks do. They don't think that they're geeks. They are trying to live and act normal, even though they clearly don't. But they don't mean to do that too. And I think Anthony Michael Hall was personifying that role of a geek who's trying to get up in the world, who doesn't really think he's a geek. And it was very well put together. And Anthony Michael Hall stole the show for me. What do you think?
I think that him and John Hughes are very close, and I think John Hughes prepared him for that role. Because he was also in National
Lampoon's Vacation.
He was a big role in that. I think that he was given that role because John Hughes wanted him to have that role. That's what I think.
Well, he still did a great job at it.
That's what I think.
Well, he still did a great job at it.
And he was great in it.
Do you remember when this movie came out?
Yes.
So, how big of a deal was it when it came out?
It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and they kept pushing Molly Ringwald. I was like...
And this came out right after pretty much right after you got out of high school. It's a couple of years after you got out of high school.
Yeah. And I kept thinking, why do they keep pushing this Molly girl? I don't think she's that attractive. I didn't understand it. Now I understand it because there's this big hoopla about her being... that John Hughes was obsessed with her. This has all come out recently. And I never knew that. Well, it was never talked about.
According to one report, which I'm not sure if this is recent news or a long time ago news, but he wrote this in a weekend because he was so interested in Molly Ringwald as an actress. He was inspired, which I think is, if that's true, it's pretty creepy. But at the same time, but at the same time, that's why I wanted to say it. At the same time, though, some people just get inspired by people. There's nothing wrong with that, except I think he's blurring the line of artistic integrity and artistic choice. But at the same time, she was a minor.
We forgot to say what we had said the other day when we watched this. It was a great film until the very end. There were some things that didn't make sense.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, the ending is not good because the ends. Oh, you loved it when the sister is like
crazy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking the storyline. The storyline messes up.
Right at the very end, they have these little bits and pieces that end out of nowhere, they just have to this thrown in, let's end it really quickly ending. That's how you can tell it was written in a weekend, because it just gets thrown away.
Oh, but it does that we don't even know. Sometimes they run out of money, or they run out of filming, and they just edit it together and then throw it on into a film.
So since we've said that spoilers are okay, what was the biggest thing you couldn't stand about the ending?
A lot of stuff. There was a lot of things that didn't make sense. I didn't like it that she runs off into a Porsche with this boy, this high schooler that's a senior, and she's a 10th grader, and her father sees it and just says, bye, bye. That would never happen. Never happen in a million years. In a million years, a father that doesn't know this young man and say bye, bye, and lets her run off while they go to a reception for the other daughter. That would never happen. He'd want to know who he was. He'd want to say, no, you're not going off with him without me knowing him. You're coming to the reception. That would never happen. That's what drove me crazy. And the other thing about the other Anthony
Michael Hall, where he ends up drunk as a skunk crashing the Rolls Royce, which doesn't make any sense because in the last scene he was sober as can be, and they had no beer on him. He was terrified of crashing the Rolls Royce, or even scratching it.
And it was all tore up.
Yes, that's stupid. It's all stupid. This is not just some Porsche. This is a Rolls Royce. This is one of the most expensive devalue appreciation cars in the world. And he was terrified to drive that thing. And
he didn't have a license.
No. And then he crashes it. It was like, okay,
well,
great.
It wasn't crash. It just had mud and stuff all over it.
Yeah, tree branches and crap. It's still kind of ruined, though. I mean, it makes it a point that the grill alone would cost $5,000 to replace.
So there was just things that didn't add up.
Yeah, at the very end.
At the very end.
Crashes and burns.
That we said...
This is by no means... I would give this...
They threw it together at the end.
I give this a 2.5 out of 5.
You had it higher the other day.
I've slept on it, and I realized it was...
Oh my gosh. No, I'd give it 3. Because there was too many funny moments that I loved.
Yeah.
There were too many funny moments that I loved.
I think there are some very good moments in it. I do like the lesson that Anthony Michael Hall teaches himself about with Molly Ringwald's character when they were in that auto shop, in that car wood shop together at the school, that he can be friends with her even though he's attracted to her, and they can still just be friends. I really like that. It's very important for kids to learn that you can be with the opposite sex and still just be friends.
Okay, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, so the biggest movies of that year were Beverly Hills Cop, Ghostbusters, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But this was still a very influential film. But in my opinion, The Breakfast Club is still probably John Hughes' best work next to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay.
So, moving on, we're going to talk about Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, released May 7th, 1993, directed by Rob Cohen, who did The Fast and the Furious in 2001. It was also written by Cohen, John Raffo, and Edward Kamara. And this was a loosely inspired film. Bruce Lee, the man, the myth, the legend. His story is brought to life in a mystical version of the true story. Director Rob Cohen recreates real drama by using elements of Lee's greatest films and martial arts techniques. So, you saw this film, a couple years after it came out?
No.
Oh, you saw it when it came out in theaters?
Yes. My sister and I were so wanting to see this film. So we went and saw it. She came to Gainesville, and we went together to see it in the theater right when it came out.
Did people talk about it after it came out?
No. It was we wanted to go see it. We loved that actor, Jason Scott Lee.
Yep, Jason Scott Lee.
And we wanted to see him play Bruce Lee. The Crow,
Brandon Lee,
mm-hmm. had just been killed. Mm-hmm. And we were looking forward to that movie. And we knew that this was going to be something we wanted to see. And my brother Danny loved Bruce Lee. And so we wanted to see it, and we wanted to tell Danny about it. It was hard for Danny to go to movies. So we went to see it, and we loved the film. We didn't know at the time. We thought this film was accurate because it said it was based on the book by his wife, Bruce Lee's wife.
Come to find out.
We find out today there's a lot of inaccuracies, and it was all It was all, a lot of it was
exaggerated. But
it wasn't even written in the beginning of the film that it was exaggerated.
Yeah, some of the events were definitely taken as inspiration from some of the Bruce Lee's movies. And we talked about this right after we watched the movies, that I feel like this, I'm usually very against any kind of exaggeration of things like this, but I think it works for this movie.
No, it doesn't. And this was before Google. We couldn't go look it up, okay? And we didn't. How many people are going to have the book written by Bruce Lee's wife? Who's going to be able to find that book? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is terrible.
Well, at the end of the day, though, the stories, they were exaggerated.
Very exaggerated.
They came from the truth, though, because they all ended the same way.
No, they had him like he was paralyzed from the neck down. That he overcame that paralysis by working hard and overcoming it and pushing himself, and that he was so strong mentally. I'm telling you, Roxy and I believed it 100%. I even told Roxy, how did he do that? Well, he's Bruce Lee.
Yes, even Bruce Lee can just crick his neck back.
And we told Danny about it. Okay, and our brother was suffering with MS and was trying to fight being a paraplegic at the time. Trying to fight overcoming that. So we were telling Danny, you can fight this. You don't have to be a paraplegic. You can overcome this. I'm telling you.
And Bruce Lee is looking down from heaven, sweating like, you shouldn't be telling this.
It's terrible.
No.
It's terrible to do that to people.
Is it the right thing to do?
No.
But you gotta admit, it's a damn funny movie to watch. It's
funny.
It's funny.
It's not funny. It is funny. It's a funny movie. It's not funny. It's not a comedy.
It is exciting too.
It's exciting. It's not funny.
I don't know about you, but I was laughing watching this movie. I was having the time of my life. I was laughing. I was excited. You were screaming. I was having the time of my life watching this.
I was screaming because he was about to get. No, I was screaming from not laughing. I was screaming from him about to be sawed up by a buzzsaw.
I was laughing. I was having a great time watching this.
You're laughing at me being screaming in pain.
This is a fun movie. Super exciting.
It's a beautiful film.
It's incredibly well done. I mean, Jason Scott Lee, he really recreates Bruce Lee's persona and his image, and it's just.
I wish I knew if Danny ever saw the film.
I could really tell you. I'm sure he was watching it from heaven for sure. But I really feel like Jason Scott Lee, you could even tell it was almost a supernatural love and devotion to Bruce Lee in this film for his portrayal of it. It's fantastic.
He was in such great shape.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I've seen
There's
a lot
not
of
1 ounce of fat on his body anywhere.
I've seen a lot of well-built men in my Men's Health magazines. That man, he's probably one of the most well-built men I've ever seen in my life.
Not 1 ounce. He's the one that played Mowgli that I wanted to see, and I was like, "This isn't Mowgli I wanted to see." And you know why now?
Yeah,
because he's so well built.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. You can tell he recreated that. It was like watching Bruce Lee. It really was like watching Bruce Lee.
Okay, well we gotta go to the next film.
No, we don't. I want to talk about this movie some more.
Okay.
This is a great movie. Sure, it's exaggerated, but you know what? I think it really works here where it didn't work in We're the Al Yankovic Story, because at the end of the day, the events of the movie go back to what happened in his life. Did he really get paralyzed from the neck down? No, but he had severe back problems as a result of a weightlifting accident that caused him to injure his vertebrae.
But you didn't learn that from the film.
I did.
You learned that from Wikipedia.
Yeah, yes, I did. But it did show that he did go through some sort of serious rehabilitation to make himself get back into the shape to be able to do.
Yeah, but he was not paralyzed from the neck down.
He was not.
He got injured from lifting weights wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
So it just shows you got to be very careful when you're lifting weights.
Okay.
I do want to make a point pretty clear that really shocked me. That really it brought me down. But it shows how powerful storytelling can be. Is where they really talk about the family curse that his father had, and he accidentally gave down to Bruce at that point in time.
His father thought there was a curse.
Mm-hmm. Because he got it from his grandfather, and then
he thought there was a curse on the family.
Yes,
and it's a horrible situation that occurred. He in the film, I don't know if this is true or not either. He named Bruce a female name to think that that the curse he wouldn't think that Bruce was a girl, was a boy, that he was a girl. I don't know if that's true or not.
Nah, who knows?
We don't know.
I really couldn't. I could believe
We don't know if that's
either
true or
one.
not. So anyway, so there was a supposed curse on the family. Well, Bruce ends up dying from
Very young.
at 32 years old from some kind of brain problem. His son, Brandon, gets killed in a movie, which is The Crow, at a very young age.
It's a horrifying accident. Both of them were horrifying accidents, really.
During,
Filming the films. That's why there was one scene in the end of the movie where it shows the demon who represents the family curse going after his son because his son starts screaming for his dad. And when that demon starts walking towards him, I'm thinking, oh my God.
I don't think they should have done that. I really don't think they should.
I don't think this was before everything happened to Brandon.
Yeah, but no. When they released that film, he had already been killed.
Yeah, but they need to end the movie somehow. They couldn't have ended any other way.
No.
But watching that was just very somber.
I don't want to talk about it.
It was just incredible.
I don't want to talk about it.
Wow. But I really enjoyed the movie. What would you give it out of 5 stars?
Now? Because after I found out it's not real, and I was fooled.
You were bamboozled. Who would have told me that a movie based on a person is a lie?
I give it a 2.5 to 3. But I originally I would have given it a 5, 4.5. But after I find out the truth, I'm upset. Okay.
I give it a 4. I thought it was excellently done.
Okay.
It's one of these fantastically directed movies. One of these fantastically filmed and edited, and
it had beautiful music.
Very well done.
It had beautiful music.
I do believe that some parts were more exaggerated than they should have been. I wish in some ways it was a little bit longer, where we talked about more different parts of his life. But I thought it was worth a 4 out of 5.
We have to move on.
All right, moving on.
But the biggest films of the year was Jurassic Park, Mrs. Doubtfire, and The Fugitive. It did get overlooked by all these other films that were successful.
Mm-hmm. Now we have one more. This was a huge hit. It was Gladiator, released May 5th, 2000, directed by Ridley Scott, who did the Alien movie and Aliens too. I mean, no, that was James Cameron, but he did the original Alien movie. Big hit. It was written...
And I saw that in the theater. The original.
I remember when I first saw Alien, it was not in the movie theater.
But I saw it in the movie theater, the original, and I was never the same.
I cannot wait to talk about that movie. It's one of my favorites.
Okay, so anyway.
It was written by David Franzoni, John Logan, and William Nicholson. They did a series of different films. One that you love is John Logan, who did The Aviator. Who you love that movie.
I know. I said that was one of Leonardo DiCaprio's best roles for acting, but I don't love that movie.
Okay. Maximus Decimus Meridius, general of Rome's army, is stripped of his title and forced into slavery after being condemned to death by an immoral son of Caesar Marcus Aurelius in a vicious coup d'etat. After discovering the fate of his family, he vows to fight and win the heart of Rome in this legendary epic.
Okay, so we know that Russell Crowe is the gladiator and put into slavery, and Joaquin Phoenix plays the son who ended up killing the original, his father.
Commodus, yes.
Commodus. And this is the role that my brother Dino said that really broke out Joaquin Phoenix. He just adored Joaquin Phoenix in this role. And my brother Davey loved Russell Crowe.
So
my gosh.
And you were telling me that and you went to go see with the whole family this movie when it came out.
Yes. Yes, because we had just went to Italy
25
in 99.
years. 25 years ago.
Yes.
I was 5, 6 years... I was just turned 5 years old. No, 6. I just turned 6. What am I thinking?
Yes.
So tell me about the experience.
So we had just gone to Italy in 99 to see Davey, but I had gone with my company. They paid for my trip. I was supposed to go to Hawaii, but I negotiated, said, I want to go to Italy. I wanted to go see my brother because I wanted to see Italy. And so we had already gone to Rome and to northern Italy and to the central Italy. So I wanted to see this movie so, badly. And so did my sister, Roxy. So it was a bunch of us went to see Gladiator with Dino, probably Debbie, and Davey, and Roxy, Kenneth, myself, maybe Karen. my friend Karen. There's a bunch of us. We all went to dinner, and to see that film, and then to come out of that theater, I felt like a heaviness, like I'd gone to war myself. I felt like I had gone to war myself. It was it just was, and when we watched it again the other day, I felt like the same thing. I felt like I'd gone to war.
So your opinion really hasn't changed of the movie since it came
No.
out 25 years ago?
No, it hasn't. Not at all. So,
So did anybody talk about the film
Oh,
when it came out?
Yeah, it was all. It was talked about coming out for like a year.
So when it finally hit to people, like, was it a water cooler event where people wouldn't stop talking about it?
Yes, and they were comparing it to like the movie with the horses, and it was a famous movie back in the 50s with the chariots and the horses and
I know
the
what you're talking
arena.
about.
Spartacus. I think it was Spartacus, and they were comparing it to that, but it was much more in depth than that. But they were comparing it to the scenes of that, and how, brutal. It was much more brutal than that. Much more brutal. I was shocked. Half of the brutality that went on, I had covered my eyes. Roxy was covering my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Roxy didn't want me seeing that brutality.
Because you get so into these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, with Dragon Bruce Lee's story, you were screaming at the different parts of it because it looked like he was about to get seriously injured.
Yeah, I was.
And this was definitely the case with this movie, too.
Oh my God.
They hold no punches.
And I kept thinking, it's just a movie, it's just a movie, it's just a movie. But I'm in dire pain. I'm in dire pain physically and mentally.
So what do you think really made this film succeed? Was it just the point of like Russell Crowe or other people involved in it too?
I think it's the directing, and I think it's the preparation and the dedication. The details in this movie, down to every little detail of every little thing, all of the peasants, the slaves, all the little details of the jewelry. It
was like Rome's come to life again.
Every little detail that went into that film. Ridley Scott and all the staff that went involved and made the success of this movie. I can't wait to see the other Gladiator movie that just came out.
Gladiator 2. Yep.
Yes.
We haven't had a chance to see it. I think it takes place 16 years after the original. So, yeah.
But it really takes a toll on me. Because I get so involved.
Mm-hmm. Good. What would you give out of 5 stars?
The only reason I think that I'd say 4.5 because there's a couple of things that I didn't like. That's the only reason. There's a couple of things that I'm just being picky. I'm just being extremely picky. There's a couple of characters that I think that were weak. I think that the father that played Caesar was too weak. I think they should have had a stronger Caesar. I don't think he would have been that weak. I think they should have had a stronger Caesar. He would be older, but he wouldn't be that weak. He would never be that weak. He wouldn't be so frail that he could not fight off his... There would have been more of a struggle, okay? There would have been more of a struggle. They would have sensed a struggle versus him just... he died in his sleep. There would have been more of a struggle. He would have some bruising. There would have been more of a struggle. He was not some weak little man. Caesars were always strong warriors. I'm sorry. That man was not the right casting.
Yeah.
Okay? And there was another man that I said that looked like Karen.
It looked like somebody that you knew in the past.
He just... It was not a good... They should have someone stronger looking versus obese.
Yeah. Sure. So, yeah, I'd give it a 5. I thought it was great.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, that bark, if you heard in the background, wraps up our situation.
The budget was $110, and it had made $465 million.
It seems like everybody in the world saw that. At least everybody in the country saw the movie. At least it seemed like it did, because it swept the Oscars. Complete sweep. Most nominations, most wins. Completely swept it. Which I think is pretty deserved in so many places. Did Joaquin win? I don't believe. I think he was just nominated. He did not win.
But Russell Crowe did win.
But Russell Crowe won for Best Actor, which I don't think was deserved. But that's their opinion at the time.
Say what you said to me that when you saw it. You said that you think that Tom Hanks should have won Best Actor.
Castaway was also nominated. Tom Hanks was nominated for Best Actor in the Oscars, and they gave it to Russell Crowe, and I completely disagree. Russell Crowe was good in this, but I've seen Russell Crowe this exact same way in other films
but
as the years go by.
I think that was but this was his. I think this was the first one that he was really his real role.
Yes, and at times though, at the end of the day, if you had to ask me, I'd say Tom Hanks did better in Castaway.
So you liked him with Wilson?
Yeah, I think he was great. He was much better in Castaway. He really did act like he really was stranded, and he was losing his mind and losing his body. It was absolutely. It's something. It's like an out of body experience. You see it coming to life in real time, and I think that he deserved that more than Russell Crowe did. I thought Russell Crowe did pretty great in this, but not. There were some parts where I feel like his acting was slacking very, very much so. That other actors could have done a much better job doing, and there's that.
It just shocked me that you said that.
Yeah,
it shocked me.
I'm sorry, but Russell Crowe's not that great of an actor. He's good at times, but
oh my god!
When he doesn't put his role, hear me out. When he doesn't put 100% into a movie, you see it. I was like that with Les Miserables. I've seen that.
I called him Captain Crunch.
Yes, I saw that in this. I've seen him in other. Remember that TV series where he played like that Fox News executive. He played in this Fox. He plays this big. I think he played Roger Ailes recently, and he was fantastic in that. Absolutely stupendous. In The Nice Guys, I thought he was wonderful. Absolutely great performance. He really gave 100% in that one too. So I thought he was okay in this. He did.
Okay, I cannot.
He did what he was.
I cannot believe
he did what he was supposed to do, and I will die. I will die on that opinion. He did what he was supposed to do.
You give it a 5, and it's mostly about him. I cannot believe you.
It's not just about him. It's about.
I said it's mostly about him.
Yes, but it's just about him. No. I thought he was okay. I think.
But you give it a 5.
At times he was great, and other times where I think it was more important, like when he watched his family get crucified, he was like, like that was terrible.
He didn't watch his family get crucified. He came upon them.
He saw their burned corpses. He should have been more reactive to the little mumblings, like scared puppy. I'm like, dude, okay. You need to scream. You need to wail. You need to show us fear. Because he's seen the scariest thing he would ever have imagined in his life. And he was like...
Okay, that's not true.
It was sad. It was pathetic. I was like, come on, man. You gotta do better than that here.
He was in shock.
But there was other parts that I thought he was great when his subtlety came through. So, thank you all so much for watching. You have a great week. We're all good to go. We'll see you next week.